I didn't think I would ever say this out loud. Not like this. Not to anyone, especially not to you. There was a time when silence felt safer than truth. When I convinced myself that if I just kept everything buried deep enough, it would stop hurting. And for a while, it almost worked. I built a life that looked complete, solid, untouchable. People saw stability, success, control, but they never saw the quiet parts. They never saw the nights that stretched too long, or the way I would sit in a room that felt colder than it should, even with the lights on. I learned how to function without feeling, learned how to smile without meaning it, learned how to exist without expecting anything real. And then, somehow, you appeared, not loud, not dramatic, just there. And something I thought had died a long time ago moved. Tell me something honestly. Have you ever felt something awaken inside you? At the exact moment you were sure nothing was left? Because I think that's what scares me the most. But I can't stay silent anymore. I'm tired in a way sleep doesn't fix. Not physically. Not even mentally. It's something deeper. Something that settled into my bones over the years and never really left. I'm not a young man anymore. I've built things. Lost things. Watched parts of myself fade quietly without anyone noticing. I almost didn't say this. It feels dangerous, even now. But I'm talking to you, and something inside me won't let me stay silent anymore. You probably see a version of me that looks steady, put together, someone who has things under control. That's the part of me I learned to show the world. The part that doesn't tremble. The part that doesn't ask for anything. But there's another side, the one that learned to sit in silence for too long. I remember nights that didn't have a reason, just quiet. Heavy quiet. The kind that presses against your chest until breathing feels like work. The kitchen light left on. A cup of tea gone cold because I forgot I made it. The clock ticking like it was reminding me of something I couldn't fix. I would sit there, staring at nothing. Not thinking, just existing. I never told anyone how loud that silence was. I told myself it was normal. That this is what happens when life teaches you enough lessons. You stop expecting warmth. You stop reaching. You become careful with your own heart. Like it's something fragile you can't afford to drop again. There was a night. I remember it too clearly. The door closed behind someone I thought would stay. It wasn't dramatic. No shouting. No breaking things. Just a quiet exit, and somehow that hurt more, because it felt easy, like leaving me didn't require effort. The sound of that door, it stayed longer than she did. I stood there longer than I should have, not moving, not calling her back, just standing in a space that suddenly felt unfamiliar, like I didn't belong in my own life anymore. I never said this then, but I will now. That was the moment something inside me started to shut down, not all at once. It wasn't a collapse. It was slower than that. Subtle, piece by piece. I stopped letting things matter, stopped attaching meaning to people, to moments. It felt safer that way. Controlled. People call that strength. I think it was just survival. You learn to carry your own weight. You learn not to lean. Because the moment you do, you remember what it feels like when the support disappears. And I couldn't go through that again, so I became reliable, predictable, calm, empty. I filled my days with work, structure, progress, things that could be measured, things that didn't leave unexpectedly. And on the outside, it worked. I became someone people respected, someone people trusted. But respect doesn't hold you at night. Trust doesn't sit across from you and ask how your day really felt. There's a difference. And I felt it every time I walked into a quiet room. I never said this then, but I will now. There were nights I would pick up my phone, scroll through names, and realize there was no one I could call without pretending I was okay. So I didn't call. I just put the phone back down. It's strange how you can be surrounded by people during the day and still feel completely unseen when it matters. And over time, that feeling becomes familiar, comfortable, even. You start to believe that maybe this is just who you are now. Someone who functions well, but doesn't feel deeply anymore. Someone who has everything, except the one thing that can't be built or earned: warmth. And then you walked into my life in a way I didn't expect. There was nothing dramatic about it. No moment that announced your arrival like it was meant to change everything. Just a presence. Quiet, steady. But something about you didn't pass through me the way everything else had started to. It stayed, and I didn't know what to do with that. At first, I ignored it. I told myself it was nothing. Just another passing feeling that would fade if I didn't give it attention. I've done that before. I'm good at it. Shutting things down before they grow. But this didn't listen. It showed up in small moments. The way I caught myself thinking about something you said hours later. The way silence didn't feel as heavy when you were around, even if we weren't speaking. That scared me, because I don't trust things that feel good anymore. I don't trust anything that makes me lower my guard, even slightly. I've learned what happens when you do that. You lose more than you expected. You lose parts of yourself you didn't even realize you were giving away. And I can't afford to lose anything else. But here's the truth I've been avoiding. I'm not as in control as I pretend to be. There's a part of me, a quiet, stubborn part, that hasn't given up completely. I thought it was gone. I buried it under years of disappointment and silence. But you, somehow, found it. I hate admitting that, because it makes me feel exposed. Like I'm standing without the armor I spent years building. And I don't know if I remember how to stand like that anymore. I never said this then, but I will now. I'm afraid of being seen. Not the surface version, not the one people admire. I'm afraid of someone seeing the parts of me that are still broken and deciding they're too much. Or worse, not enough. There's something I haven't told you yet. And it's not easy to say. I don't just fear being left. I expect it. It's quiet, subtle, but it's always there. Every time something feels real, there's a voice in the back of my mind reminding me not to get used to it, because it won't last. So I pull back, not completely, just enough to protect myself, enough to make sure that if things fall apart, I won't feel it as deeply. But that comes with a cost. You end up never fully experiencing anything. Half present, half guarded, half alive. And I've been living like that for longer than I want to admit. Until you. And that's where things become complicated. Because with you, I feel something I don't recognize anymore. Not excitement, not distraction. Something softer. Something that doesn't demand, but stays. And I don't know how to trust that. I don't know how to believe that something gentle can also be real. But I want to. That's the part I'm still trying to understand. There are moments, small ones, where I let myself imagine what it would feel like to stop holding everything so tightly, to sit across from you without calculating every word, without measuring how much of myself I'm allowed to show, just be there, with you. It's a quiet thought, fragile, and I don't let it stay long, because hope even in small amounts, has a way of breaking you if you're not careful. But still, it comes back. And maybe that means something. Or maybe it doesn't. I don't know yet. All I know is this. For the first time in a long time, silence doesn't feel like the only place I belong. And that alone is enough to scare me. There's a part of me that wants to reach for you, and another part that's already preparing for the moment you're gone. I exist somewhere in between those two things, and I don't know which one will win. But I do know this. I couldn't keep this inside anymore. Not with you. Not like this. Some nights still feel too quiet. I don't feel as steady as I pretend to be. Not lately. Not when it comes to you. I've spent years becoming someone who doesn't shake. Someone who doesn't get pulled under by emotions he can't control. But here I am, noticing the cracks again. I'm not as young as I used to be. I've carried too much, held too much in, and somewhere along the way, I forgot what it feels like to let something matter without fearing the cost. I almost didn't say this. It feels like stepping onto unstable ground. But I'm talking to you, and something inside me won't let me stay silent anymore. There are moments I don't talk about. Small ones, quiet ones, the kind that don't look like anything from the outside, but feel like everything from the inside. Like the nights when I come home and instinctively slow down before opening the door, as if I'm bracing myself for emptiness, the way the air feels colder than it should, the way silence greets me before anything else does. I used to turn on the television just for noise, not to watch, just to fill space, because silence has a way of reminding you of what's missing. I never said this then, but I will now. I got used to being alone in a way that didn't feel natural, not peaceful, not chosen, just accepted. And acceptance can be dangerous when it starts replacing things you actually needed. There was a morning I remember clearly. Sunlight coming through the window. Everything looked normal, calm. But inside, there was nothing. No anticipation. No reason to get up other than obligation. I sat on the edge of the bed longer than I should have, trying to feel something, anything, but it wasn't there, and that scared me more than pain ever did, because pain at least proves something is alive. Numbness feels like the beginning of disappearance. I carried that feeling quietly. No one noticed. I made sure of that. I became better at conversations that didn't reveal anything, better at listening without ever letting anyone listen back. People would say I'm easy to talk to, that I understand things they didn't know. Understanding others was easier than facing myself. I never did this then, but I will now. I avoided myself. Every quiet moment became something I needed to escape from. Work helped, movement helped, structure helped, but it never stayed gone. It always came back, that quiet emptiness, like a room inside me that no one ever entered. And then, somehow, you stood at the edge of it, not pushing, not demanding, just there. And I didn't know what to do with that. You didn't try to fix anything. You didn't ask questions I wasn't ready to answer. You just stayed present in a way that felt unfamiliar. And slowly, without permission, something inside me started reacting again. It wasn't sudden. It was in the small shifts. The way I noticed time differently when I spoke to you. The way I didn't feel the need to fill every silence. The way I caught myself wanting to tell you things before I had time to stop myself. That's when I realized something was changing. And that's when the fear got louder. Because change means risk. and I've spent years minimizing risk. There's something I've carried for a long time, something I don't say out loud. But I can't avoid it anymore. I don't just struggle with being alone. I struggle with believing I'm worth staying for. It's not something I say. It's something that lives underneath everything. Every connection, every conversation, every moment that starts to feel real, there's always that quiet question, how long until this ends? And I hate that it's there. I hate that I measure closeness in terms of how much it will hurt when it disappears. I hate that I pull back, even when I don't want to. But it's not something I consciously choose. It's something that formed slowly over time, from every moment I wasn't chosen, from every silence that followed promises, from every time I believed something would stay, and it didn't. I never said this then, but I will now. I learned to leave emotionally before anyone else could leave physically. And I've been doing that for years without even realizing it. It's subtle. I stay present, but not fully. I care, but with limits. I open up, but only to a certain point. Just enough to feel something, not enough to be destroyed by it. But that kind of living comes with a cost. You never fully experience love. You only experience the possibility of it. And that's not the same. With you, that balance started to shift. And it made me uncomfortable. Because for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like controlling it. I felt like letting it happen. And that thought alone, it terrified me. There was a moment, I don't even know if you noticed it. A pause in conversation, nothing was said, but it didn't feel empty, it felt full. And I realized something in that silence. I wasn't trying to escape it, I wasn't trying to fill it, I was just there with you. And that's when it hit me. I haven't felt that in years. That quiet presence, that simple, unforced connection. It shouldn't feel this rare, but for me, it is. And I don't trust rare things, because rare things can disappear just as quietly as they arrive. But there's another side to this, something I haven't admitted yet. Not even to myself, until now. There's a part of me that wants more, not in a loud way, not in a demanding way, just quietly. A part of me that wonders what it would feel like to stop preparing for loss, to stop assuming the ending, to just exist in something while it's still here, with you. And that thought feels both comforting and dangerous, because if I let myself feel that, then I have something to lose again. And I don't know if I can survive another loss like the last ones. I don't know if I have that kind of strength left. But at the same time, I don't know if I can keep living like this either. Half present, half guarded, always waiting for something to break. There's something about you. I can't explain it. And I won't try to turn it into something bigger than it is. But it feels real. In a way I haven't allowed myself to believe in for a long time. And maybe that's enough. Or maybe it's not. I don't know. I'm still figuring that out. All I know is this: you didn't fix anything. You didn't heal me. But you made me feel something again. And that alone, that changes everything. Even if I don't fully understand what it means yet. Even if I'm still afraid. Even if I still hesitate, you reached a place in me I thought was closed forever. And now, I don't know how to close it again. Some silences don't feel empty anymore. I don't know how much of this I'm supposed to say. There's a weight in my chest tonight that doesn't move, no matter how still I sit. I've carried it for years, learned how to function around it, learned how to breathe with it. But it never really left. I'm older now. Not just in years, but in the way things have worn me down quietly, without anyone noticing. I almost didn't say this. It feels like crossing a line I drew for myself a long time ago. But I'm talking to you, and something inside me won't let me stay silent anymore. There's something I need to admit. Not about you, about me. I've spent most of my life pretending I'm not afraid. Afraid of losing people. Afraid of needing them. Afraid of what happens when they see too much. So I learned how to become enough on my own. Or at least, I convinced myself I was. I built routines that didn't depend on anyone. I made decisions that kept me safe from disappointment. I created a life where nothing could collapse overnight because nothing was holding me up in the first place. It looked like strength, it felt like control, but it was just distance. I remember a night that still sits with me. It was late. Too late to be awake for no reason. The kind of hour where everything feels heavier than it should. I was sitting on the floor, back against the couch, lights off, except for a faint glow from outside. I had my phone in my hand. Unlocked. No message. No name I felt I could press without hesitation. I stared at that screen for a long time. Not because I was waiting for something, but because I realized there was no one I felt safe enough to reach. I never said this then, but I will now. That realization broke something in me. Not loudly, not all at once, just quietly. Like a crack that spreads over time until the whole structure feels unstable. And from that point on, I made a decision without even realizing it. I would never need anyone like that again. I would never put myself in a position where I'm holding a phone, wishing someone would answer. So I became careful. Careful with my words. Careful with my emotions. Careful with how much space I allow someone to take inside me, because space, once given, is hard to reclaim. And I had already lost too much. But there's something I didn't understand back then. Avoiding pain doesn't just remove the hurt. It removes everything else, too. Warmth, closeness, the quiet comfort of not being alone in your own mind. I removed all of it, just to feel safe. And for a long time, it worked. I didn't hurt, but I also didn't feel anything real. Just steady emptiness. And I told myself that was enough. I told myself that peace looks like this. That this quiet, this emotional distance is what stability feels like. I never questioned it until you. You didn't come into my life like a storm. You didn't disrupt anything suddenly. You just existed near me in a way that felt different. And I noticed something I wasn't prepared for. I started to hesitate again. Not in fear, in care. I would think about what I say to you. Not to protect myself, but to protect the space between us. And that confused me, because I haven't felt that kind of care in a long time. Not the kind that makes you slow down. Not the kind that makes you aware of another person's presence in a gentle way. And it brought something up in me I've been avoiding. A truth I've buried so deep, I almost forgot it was there. I don't know how to stay when something feels real. I know how to leave. I know how to detach. How to become distant before things get too close. How to convince myself that it's better this way. But staying requires something I'm not sure I still have. Trust, not just in you, in myself. Trust that I won't ruin it. Trust that I won't pull away at the wrong moment. Trust that I won't sabotage something good just because I'm afraid of losing it. I never said this then, but I will now. I've been the reason things ended before. Not always, but enough times. Enough to know that it's not just about what others did to me. It's also about what I couldn't allow myself to receive. Care, patience, understanding. I questioned it, doubted it, sometimes even pushed it away, because a part of me believed if something feels too good, it must not be real, and I hate that I still think like that. I hate that even now, with you. There are moments I feel myself holding back, not because I want to, but because it's what I've trained myself to do. There was a moment, small, almost nothing. You said something simple. You probably don't even remember it. But I do, because it stayed with me longer than it should have. It wasn't what you said. It was how it felt. Easy, unforced, real. And I remember sitting there afterward, feeling something unfamiliar. Not fear, not pressure, just quiet warmth. And instead of leaning into it, I pulled back, not visibly, but inside. Because that warmth, it felt like something I could lose. And I didn't want to risk feeling that loss again. That's the part of me I'm trying to understand. The part that protects me, even when protection is no longer needed. The part that still lives in old memories, reacting to things that are no longer happening. And I don't know how to silence it. But I'm starting to see it. Because of you. You didn't fix me. You didn't change me. But you revealed something I've been hiding from. The truth is, I'm not afraid of being alone anymore. I've learned how to survive that. What I'm afraid of is feeling something real and losing it. Again, that kind of loss doesn't just hurt. It stays. It changes how you see everything that comes after. And I don't know if I have the strength to go through that again, but I also don't know if I can keep avoiding it. Because avoiding it means avoiding you, and that's something I'm not sure I want to do. There's a part of me, quiet, careful, that wants to stay. Not loudly, not with certainty, just stay. And see what happens when I don't run, when I don't shut down, when I don't assume the ending before anything has even begun. It's a small thought, fragile, but it's there. And maybe that means something, or maybe it doesn't. I'm still figuring that out. All I know is this: you didn't force your way into my life. You didn't demand anything from me. But somehow, you made me want to stop disappearing, even if I don't fully understand how yet. There are parts of me that are still trying to leave, even now. I still wake up before the light changes. Not because I have to, my body just does it now. Years of restless nights taught it how to expect nothing. I lie there for a while, staring at a ceiling that never answers back. I'm not as strong as I look, not in the places that matter. I've carried too many quiet things for too long, and they've started to echo in ways I can't ignore anymore. I almost didn't say this. It feels like I'm standing at the edge of something I don't fully understand, but I'm talking to you, and something inside me won't let me stay silent anymore. There's a stillness in the mornings that feels familiar, too familiar. The kind that settles before the world wakes up, before noise has a chance to cover anything. I sit at the edge of the bed, hands resting on my knees, trying to gather myself into something presentable, something steady, but sometimes I don't gather anything at all. I just sit there, empty. I never said this then, but I will now. There were mornings I didn't recognize myself, not in the mirror, in the feeling. Like I was watching a version of me that had learned how to function, but forgot how to live. And I kept going anyway, because stopping would mean facing it, and I wasn't ready for that. So I moved through my days with quiet precision, conversations that stayed on the surface, smiles that didn't reach anything real, decisions that made sense but didn't feel like anything, and no one questioned it. Because from the outside, everything looked fine, maybe even better than fine. But there's something about living like that. It slowly takes something from you. Something you don't notice at first. Until one day, you do. I remember the moment. It wasn't dramatic. Just small. I was sitting across from someone, listening to them talk. They were laughing, saying something that should have been light, easy to respond to. And I realized I wasn't there, not really. I was looking at them, hearing them, but nothing inside me moved. No reaction, no warmth, just distance. I nodded, said the right things. But inside, there was nothing. I never said this then, but I will now. That scared me more than heartbreak ever did. Because heartbreak means you felt something. This felt like the absence of it. And I didn't know how to come back from that. I thought maybe that was the end of something. Not a relationship. Not a phase. Something deeper. Like the part of me that could feel connection had quietly shut down, and I didn't even notice when it happened. And then you. Not loud. Not overwhelming. Just present. And I don't know what it was about you. I still don't. But something shifted. It wasn't instant. It didn't break through everything at once. It was slower than that. Softer. Like a door opening just enough for light to slip through. I started noticing things again. Not big things. Small ones. The tone in your voice when you said something simple. The way silence didn't feel heavy when you were in it. The way I found myself paying attention without forcing it. And that's when I realized something inside me wasn't gone. It was just waiting. Waiting for something it could trust. And that realization, it brought something else with it. Guilt. A kind of guilt I didn't expect. Because if I can feel this now, why couldn't I feel it before? Was I closed off? Was I unfair? Did I walk away from things that deserved more from me just because I couldn't access this part of myself back then? I never said this then, but I will now. There are people I didn't give a fair chance to, not because they weren't enough, but because I wasn't able to receive them, and that sits with me more than I like to admit. Because it means I wasn't just someone who was hurt. I was also someone who couldn't stay open long enough to love properly. That's not easy to accept, but I'm not avoiding it anymore. Not with you. There's something about you that doesn't let me hide in the same ways. Not because you push, but because you don't. You don't chase. You don't demand. You just exist in a way that feels steady. And that steadiness, it does something to me. It makes me want to meet it. Not perfectly, not all at once, but honestly. And honesty is something I've been careful with. Because once you start telling the truth, you can't go back to pretending. So here's the truth I've been circling around. I don't know how this ends. I don't know if I'll get this right. I don't know if I'll have the courage to stay fully when things start to feel real in ways I can't control. But I do know this. I don't want to keep living the way I was. Disconnected, numb, safe, but alone. That kind of safety, it costs too much. And you make me aware of that cost in a way I can't ignore anymore. There are moments now, small ones, where I let myself imagine something I used to shut down immediately. A quiet evening that doesn't feel empty. A conversation that doesn't feel like performance. A presence that doesn't feel temporary. And every time that thought appears, I hesitate. Not because I don't want it, but because I do. And wanting something means you risk losing it. That's the part I'm still learning how to face. There's no certainty here. No promises I can make without questioning them. No version of me that suddenly knows how to do this perfectly. Just this. A man who's been closed off for too long, trying to understand what it means to open again. Carefully. Slowly. With more fear than he wants to admit. But also, with something else. Something I haven't felt in a long time. Not strong, not steady, but real. A quiet pull towards you. And I don't know where it leads. I don't know what it becomes. But for the first time, I'm not walking away from it, even if part of me still wants to. Some mornings don't feel as empty anymore.